the last 6 months, that's something that you might want to add to your to-do list. Sometimes we change phone numbers go outdated, we try to call you, we cannot reach you. So if you haven't done so over the last 6 months, try to reach out to your bank, just make sure that they have your current information there. Thank you so much for having us today.
Okay, welcome everyone. We are coming back, the board from our board retreat, and I want to thank everybody for their participation, and Charlene Peterson, who was with us from NJSBA, for her service during that retreat. So we are on the agenda under presentations, and first is Central School student presentation. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Alexis.
Okay, well, I'm going to invite Mr. Vittorello to come forward and introduce his students and tell us a little bit about what you have planned tonight. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let me make sure. I'll take this off. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for providing us with the opportunity to present tonight. First, I would like to thank the Board of Education, all of our central office administration, the Central Middle School staff for their consistent vision, hard work, and efforts. In a moment, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our dedicated student council members. They are the student governing body that has been elected to represent their Central Middle School peers. Every year, they work extremely hard to make our school environment the very best that it can be. They take initiative, they communicate effectively, and they work collaboratively with administration and the staff to help improve our school and the local community. For their presentation tonight, I have asked them with a challenging task of reflecting upon the year so far. We haven't had that much time, but the time we've had so far to present on a few activities, some academic and some events, that they felt were the most impactful and fun learning experiences for them. So tonight, they're going to take a few minutes and dive into these activities and tell you a little bit about them and why they were important and impactful to them. So without any further delay, I turn the presentation over to our Student Council President, Leo, the Vice President, Asa, Treasurer, Shelby, and Secretary, Anya.
Take your time. CMS holds a multitude of academic and extracurricular activities that take place throughout the year and on a daily basis. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a slightly deeper dive into some of the Student Council's favorite and most impactful activities.
These activities include the development of solar cars in the 8th grade STEAM class. With limited resources such as building materials and an ambitious goal of developing a fast car, students have to use the scientific method to improve the design by iteration.
Hold on, our clicker's not working. So I'll move it forward for you guys.
So,
do you want that slide so far?
yeah.
Okay.
So these are some pictures of the solar cars where you can see the solar panel and the motor. Next slide.
Next slide. I'll take care of it for you.
So in the steps of building this car, students first follow an already given instruction to learn about each part. Then each team would put their knowledge and creativity to improve the speed of the car for the final race to determine who would be our solar car champion.
Next slide.
The CMS Community Service Club. An overview and highlights of the club. So the completed projects we've had so far is the Senior Center Tech Help in November, the Long Hill Township Halloween Parade, in which students assisted in organizing groups by age and passing out refreshments in October, and the Long Hill Senior Center Rummage Sale. which students helped with cleanup after the event in October. An event that's in progress is the food drive collection to support 12 Baskets Food Pantry. Some upcoming events for the Community Service Club are the Toys for Tots toy collection to support the Long Hill PBA in December, the Myersville tree lighting in December, inviting students to attend the Myersville Grange Soup and Pasta Contest in January, making sandwiches for an organization through St. Vincent de Paul Church in February, the Bake Ziti for Long Hill first responders in March, cleaning for the Sterling Lake grounds in April, flower sales to raise money for the Raptor Trust also in April, the Long Hill Township Easter egg hunt in March and April, and cleaning the CMS grounds in May.
That's great stuff.
When the Community Service Club assisted the Senior Center with technology, they met with local Senior Center residents and supported them by troubleshooting basic technology concerns. These are some pictures from the event in which students are shown helping the seniors.
All right, the Halloween dance. So the Halloween dance was held at CMS around Halloween weekend, and it was generally a fun and lighthearted event. The Halloween dance had cheap entry fees, so it was very welcoming and open to all students. By the way, over 130 students attended the dance. There were also a numerous amount of fun games and activities, and there were a lot of prizes given out. You could get these prizes by winning certain competitions or winning certain games, and there was even a prize for you just walking through the door. Yeah, yeah, and I won that prize, so no bias there. Anyways. So I'd say the highlight of the Halloween dance was the costume contest. Now the costume contest was, there were 3 categories that you could enter the costume contest in. It was, you could either enter with a friend, or enter with a group, or just enter by yourself. And of course you needed a costume to go into the contest in the first place. And if that rule wasn't there, I would have just signed up because I knew everyone would just cheer for me. Oh, I'm kidding. Anyways. But I'd say, the costume contest was really a good time where people could just relieve their stress and anxiety they've been prepping up, because school just started and people are easing back into the school mindset. And they're like maybe it's maybe hard for some people to just sink back into the school habit. So the Halloween dance was a good leisure activity, and it was really entertaining, and it helped me recollect and socialize with my friends, which I barely get to do in school because now I just get so much work. But yeah, overall, it was a really stress relieving event, and I'd say especially for the 6th graders, because they just came from elementary school, and this middle school environment is way different from what they're used to. So I'd say it was a good event for all grades to socialize and sort of ease back into school. And I like to thank Ms. Patton and the other volunteers that helped make this event happen. Passing back to you, Shelby.
Some events that we are looking forward to in the future are the Holiday Music Festival trip to Watching Hills on December 22nd for the 8th graders. The Philadelphia field trip also for the 8th graders. The Finding Nemo Junior drama production, field days, Victorian Day for the 7th graders, Medieval Day for the 6th graders, the debate competition, 7th and 8th graders only, and the winter concert January 18th and the spring concert. We are also looking forward to the winter sports, girls basketball, boys basketball, and cheerleading. The Student Council would like to thank the Board of Education, Central Office Administration, and all our school staff for everyone's hard work and support. Are there any questions?
How many students are in the community service group? Or do the students just come in, I like to work on this project, I'll work on it, or how does it go?
I'd say, Anya, how many do we have? Like 50?
Oh, nice.
Like 30, 35?
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
somewhere around 30. It's an all-year thing, so usually students sign up in the beginning of the year, and then they continue to do all the activities year-round.
Good. How often do you meet?
It varies. Like, we usually meet a couple times before we have an event coming up. For example, the senior center, we met a couple of times to discuss what we were going to do there and to make posters and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yes?
What costumes won at the Halloween?
Okay. So for the group category, there were 3 girls, Nia, Sage, and Lily, that dressed up as the 3 blind mice, and they won the group costumes.
Okay.
And for the individual, what was he? I forget what he was.
I do not know.
Somebody, the doll. Someone was he from Guys and
I was
Dolls?
rooting for Perry the Platypus, so.
Chucky. He was Chucky.
There was a Perry the
Oh.
Platypus.
The scary Chucky?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in and say thank you to the middle school for putting together the Halloween dance, because I know that the town rec department usually does a wonderful job with the lake dances, and then the incoming 6th grade class so excited, but of course with rain on both of the most recent lake dances, I think it was fabulous for you guys to get a dance in, and hopefully next time they have a lake dance it doesn't rain.
Any other questions?
Well, I just want to make a comment. I worked the Halloween parade with the student service. You were very helpful. I was at the refreshment stand. You were very helpful, and whoever was there was very nice with the little kids, that come in, and you took initiative on whatever we asked you to do, and you figured out what to do. So it was good. It was a good working experience with you.
And I just wanted to comment and say thank you to Central Middle School for coming out last night to the Myersville tree lighting. It was really awesome to see everybody, and it really brightened the holiday spirit, and everyone did such a great job, setting up, and it was, Mr. Vitorello and Mrs. Shipon. It was really cool for everyone to come out. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, guys.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Mints.
Okay, next on the agenda, our next presentation, recognition of Alex DeJamis. So Alex joined the board in November of 2019. He was unanimously appointed to the board during a candidate interview session. Since that time, he has led our Buildings and Grounds Committee, lending his leadership and expertise to improving our schools, and without a doubt, many people have said noticeably improving the schools. So community members who don't even have students in the schools drive past and acknowledge that. He has shared his poise, professionalism, and intellect with this district, and without a doubt has made a lasting impact. He will be greatly missed. So we want to give him a small token of our gratitude. And this is a plaque. It says, Long Hill Township Board of Education presented to Alexander DeJamis with grateful appreciation for your leadership, dedication, and tireless efforts on behalf of the Long Hill Township School District. Years of service, 2019 to 2023, and maybe there'll be a ... after that. But I want to give this to him and thank him for, yeah.
Take pictures?
I think we should do a picture with, can we do one with everybody?
A whole group picture?
Can we?
Sure, why not?
All right, let's go real quick, and then we'll come back.
Oh, Mark's.
Oh, Mark's got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Who has a good camera?
Mark.
He didn't say it was good camera, but he has one.
Always comes prepared.
A willing participant, jumps right out of his seat. Here, you go right here. Okay, wait, let me go over here, because Chris and I look like we're coordinated outfits.
And then me, we got the Christmas count.
Mark, you should be up here.
Do you have a timer on it?
No devil's horns.
Thank you. Maybe Alex wants to say something, but I wanted to give other board members an opportunity if anybody had any thoughts that they wanted to share.
I thought we were all cold and warm when we voted.
No.
I tell you, I really enjoyed, when you think about, when you speak, it's very thoughtful. You know, I mean, there's a lot in it. And I really think you've really grasped or gotten a hold of this B&G thing. And I think you're very open about your opinions, and it's been very appreciated. Because once or twice, you know, they weren't that popular. And that's what we need. I mean, we gotta hear the other side, right? So thank you.
Anything? Melissa?
You were such an asset to this board in so many different ways. You're just who you are in your professional life and your career was so helpful to bring to the board in many issues. You were always the voice of reason, and you were always so dedicated to everything, and I'm so sad to see you go because you are irreplaceable. And I just thank you for all the time, and I hope to see you back here again.
Oh, thank you very much, Miss.
I will. Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say you will be missed. I agree with what Karen and Melissa said. You have a very positive energy about the way you approach problem solving and sometimes tough conversations, but always with a mind to a solution. You know, and openness. I really I enjoy working with everyone on the board, but I think that you added so much to that sense of collegiality and just the fact that we're in it together and we can work together to benefit the students of Long Hill.
Thank you.
Katie?
Alex, you know how much I love you and that I'm going to miss you. And I think one of the best things about you is that you always have a smile on your face. You're deeply amused by most things. It's the more stressful they are, the more you're amused by them. And I think, as everyone has said, you have brought a lot of positivity and hard work and dedication to the board, and we will miss you. But it's a small town, and we'll see you around. And we will corner you and make you do things in other areas. I already have ideas. So thank you.
I'd like to just say I've toured parts of the buildings with Alex that I never thought I'd see, or at least see in the same way. Alex, when we tour buildings, he takes me into basements and we look at puddles and cobwebs and gaping holes. and I thank you because you really pointed out a lot about buildings and grounds that I think had you not been on the tour, I would have missed. And so as somebody who's new to the district, it was the perfect way to step into the role because you really gave me an overview between you and Mr. Pacina that I got such a good overview of where we stand, where we need to go. And I love that part is that there always is, this is where we need to go. And there's a goal at the end of it, which is lovely. And thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much as well.
Alex, as I said to you before, I did want to say it then, but it was just a perfect opportunity. I enjoyed working with you. We didn't always agree, but we always had a good time disagreeing. I want to thank you. You did take me, you included me in some buildings and grounds meetings and some good discussions, and your energy will certainly be missed.
Thank you so much, Tom. Same pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
And Alex, in the short time that I've known you, I want to tell you that I really appreciate in you something that I see in the board as a whole, but specifically in you, it's your welcoming and just real openness and kindness, and I appreciate that from you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Are we all done?
Yeah.
No, we're not,
George
sorry.
has to say something.
I was going to save my remarks for my superintendent section, but given that everyone borrowed my remarks already, and we didn't coordinate this, but I'm going to echo the same things. Thoughtful, logical, reasonable, dedicated, always respectful, always willing to share ideas and different perspectives. So in the past 6 months, it's been an absolute pleasure. But above all, you're always focused on what's best for the students and staff. And we all deeply appreciate that. Your knowledge of school law and your understanding of facilities oversight were tremendous assets for the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is it my turn?
So, yes.
Honestly, it feels like it was like 10 years more than 4. And this is part of my arrogance, I think. I came in November 2019, and I reluctantly put my name in to be considered in an appointed position. And I'm like, this is a little town, little district, this should be no sweat, given the experience that I have in school, administration and law. And almost immediately, we went into a 5-year planning session, and then a COVID pandemic shut down, and then a reopening committee that I served on, and then we had our first resignation of superintendent. So
good
I, in
times.
4 years, have had the great pleasure of serving 2 interim superintendents and 3 actual appointed superintendents. And George, I couldn't be happier about you joining us and being part of the selection process, because I think so much of the work that's been done over the last 4 years will really be accomplished and realized under your leadership. So thank you for the opportunity of working with you for a short time. I have said it before, and I honestly, genuinely think that this is one of the most collegial and professional and dedicated and talented boards that is squandered on a small district like this. Truthfully, because there are some really big districts out there with really big problems, and we make it look easy simply by our mutual commitment. And this is the democratic process. You have 9 people for a reason. We should not all hold the same opinion, and it's important for us to disagree and to have collegial conversations and come up with the best solution for everyone. And I often am right, but not always. It's been a lot of fun interacting with you and working with you, as it has been a pleasure and a privilege to serve on this board. I don't think I'm ever done, because I have the spirit of volunteerism in me, but it comes at a great time in my life where I'm incredibly stretched thin, very busy. But it's truly a pleasure and a privilege to work in such a great community. This is an amazing town, and it's capable of so much. And I see its potential. I want the best for not only my kids, but their friends, the whole community. You guys have a great opportunity here to serve, the whole community, but especially our kids. And it's not just our kid, it's the one that comes afterwards too. You always have to consider that while we might only have 9 years with each kid, and I've done the math, it's just under 10,000 hours of schooling that they get during the 9 years that they're in our realm. That's a big responsibility, because there's a lot that needs to be accomplished in that period of time. And ultimately, the better our schools perform, the better it is for our community as a whole. So this is one of the most compelling places to devote my time, and I really had a great time doing it with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I add, because I'm not done. And one thing that I wanted to say later on during my report, but I only get the joy of reporting out what the Buildings and Grounds team has accomplished. It really started mostly with Dr. Mucci bringing in Dan Borgo, Mark Brasina, Adele, and continued on with Robin and Frank. Like, truly a talented team. It's, what I report is really just a reflection of their dedication and work, and I want to thank all of them, because they've been an absolute pleasure to work with, and I've learned a lot from them too. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. We are moving to communications. I don't have any to report on, but
Just the one email about transportation that I wanted to mention that went to the entire board right before Thanksgiving. It was about an issue that arose when there was a downed tree in town. And Robin will talk a little bit about that when she gives her transportation update, but I did want to acknowledge that.
Okay, great. Board committee and liaison reports. Karen?
Okay, there was a Morris County Ed Services Commission report in November, and there wasn't too much to report that really related to us. Excuse me. Unlike us, though, we had some change in our membership because of elections, but come January, we do not do a reorganization. By state law, the Ed Services Commission does their reorg in June. So I've said that several times. We had a presentation by the transportation group, and I just wanted to cite two interesting statistics. They handle the contracts for the transportation. So there's contracts that specifically handle transportation to charter schools and academies, and their studentship that they handle has gone up 15% year over year. The other interesting program that they have is they transport juniors and seniors from high school to Morris County Community College so they can attend classes there. And in some instances, actually, depending on the trajectory of the program, the student can graduate high school with also an AA. That program has gone up 25%. Now, I don't know, I'm just laying this out. I mean, our kids are Morris County. I don't know if we're going to get advantage of that, or if they do something like that with Somerset County. Because I got to tell you, I bet you part of it is because the community colleges have really upped their game, and it's a lot less expensive than 4 years, at a school. And if you do really, really well, you have a chance of getting, maybe a grant or a scholarship to the school, and your diploma comes out with that name of the school that you actually ultimately graduate from. It doesn't come out with Morris County Community. So it really is interesting how it's grown over the years. With respect to finance, we met last Wednesday prior to this meeting, and there was lots of stuff. There's a new student that we're going to be receiving into the district from Bedminster, a tuition student going into our pre-K handicap program.
I'm sorry, Somerset Hills.
I'm sorry, Somerset Hills. That's right. We went through that before. I apologize. Audit submissions. Everybody on the board should have received from Adele a copy of whatever we're supposed to get, so that they know, the state knows that every board member has gotten the audit information and presentation, and all the documentation is done correctly. In terms of grants, I think, I mentioned previously, there was something called the LEAP grant, which was identified for investigating shared services. And in talking about it at the meeting, it was said that it really wasn't applicable to our situation because it dealt more with looking at regionalization issues. So we said we could pursue things more directly on our own, which is what we're going to be doing. There are several, on the agenda, you're going to see there's several grant amendments associated with grants, and it's merely to identify or to approve some accounting changes that were made, and all the necessary documentation has been submitted just to make sure that everything is being applied correctly, et cetera. There are reporting for Title I that they had to do, the number of teachers and students per teacher, to ensure that we're utilizing those funds correctly. You'll see on the, also on the agenda, 2 parents that were previously transporting their students out of district on their own decided, well, yeah, I've heard that you offer, I can get money, so they're going under contract, and that's what you're going to be approving, them getting contract. Robin was able to negotiate a joint transportation agreement with Somerset Hills to provide backup should we need it for school trips and or athletics. Okay, with respect to disposal of obsolete items, now this might go a little bit into B&G, but there was I'll put it in quotes, storage area in Central School that had a lot of damaged material, broken tables, moldy tables, etc. So the goal is to really get that all cleaned out and really make it a maintenance room with a maintenance bench and the proper tools, and they have a place to go to work, etc. Back in the BA office, they were very fast and furious in cleaning up. Purchase orders only have to be kept for 7 years. They actually uncovered 60 boxes of purchase orders that could be shredded. And it just so happened to coincided with shredding day. But shredding, they would only take 50. So they worked feverishly to get those 60 boxes fitting into 50 boxes. So they got it to the shredding, over to the library. They gave us a reduced rate, and the library made money. So it worked out great. And it's going to be continuing process that they go through. So come the spring, they're going to gear up for the shredding day that day too. So I think we mentioned about truck being out of order or whatever. We sidelined what would you call it?
Decommissioned it.
Decommissioned it. Thank you very much. A truck and put it up for sale online. Another thing, at the conference, Adele and Robin worked their magic. PNC is one of the banks that we utilize, and they charge us fees, and Robin didn't like the fees that we were getting. So they cornered our representative down at the conference, and the result is that very low balance accounts, like the student activities account maybe is only a couple of $1,000, is going to go to zero interest account. The accounts that do have interest, the interest was raised and our fees were reduced. So we could see a savings of approximately $2,000 a year from that work by Adele and Robin. The sewer issue at Central School was fixed, and the cost was somewhere around $5,000. There are some lingering transportation issues, mostly dealing with communications and substitute drivers, and Robin and Mr. Alexis are working on it. And I believe you said that you've even taken it to the county superintendent. You said you've spoken.
We did share that with the county office.
Yes.
We asked them where the oversight function with the state DOE is, and they said it rests with the county's office. So we've
I have
also registered those complaints.
They contacted me today and they asked me to set up a Google meeting for either Thursday or Friday with Nancy Gartenberg, the county superintendent, and Karen Dunn, the county business administrator. So with any luck, they said they don't know what they can help with. They can certainly listen, they can strategize with us, they can help us maybe solve some of the problems or see what we can do, but we do have a meeting with them.
Well, I would follow up with Dr. Velarde, because he's handled hundreds of transportation contracts. And, maybe there's other ways he knows what to do, short of breach of contract. Because he said that's really hellish to try to get involved in.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Karen? Okay, Crystal?
Oh, wait a minute. Did I do governance? I apologize.
Oh, wait, coming back, sorry.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I didn't do governance, did I? No, okay. Well, at our meeting, we did a preparation for the mid-year report, mid-year retreat, which we just completed. New member orientation, I believe that you got a copy of the updated new member booklet, as well as Justin did, and you've been Ann and Kim have been in contact with you, and George has been in contact with you. Committee transition reports are requested by the committees, because we know in January we're going to be possibly making a changeover, and we should have something laid out for those who are taking over their places. And we're moving on to the next steps of the mission and vision, and that's Mr. Alexis working with Mr. Vitarella with the Central School students. That's the first step. And it came up because I guess it slipped that, when Matt resigned, 2 committees lost a member. So committees met with only 2 members, but that's something, that can happen at times. But just to reemphasize that every effort should be made, if all members are on the board, that you have a meeting with all members of the committee. And that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Karen? No? Okay, Crystal?
Nothing this month.
Okay, Danielle?
Yes, I have an update from the PTO. So the 15th annual PTO coat drive collection began today, and it will run until December 15th. Both new and clean, gently used winter coats can be donated at all 3 schools. On December 11th, visiting author Annika Risi will be visiting Gillette School. And on December 14th, the PTO will be hosting the annual holiday luncheon for the students and the staff at Central School. The next general PTO meeting will be held on Wednesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. in the Millington Media Center. Class parents are planning their holiday parties for grades preschool through 5th. on December 22nd. Food days for the third ordering period will open on January 1st and close on January 10th for February and March dates. Corey the Dribbler will visit Gillette School on January 3rd for the Social Emotional Learning Assembly. And also, their PTO is asking to please support the PTO by joining as a paid member and also completing the volunteer opportunities form on the PTO website. The link can be found on the district website under the parent tabs. If anyone has any questions, please email lhtpto@gmail.com.
Okay. Any questions for Danielle? No? Okay, Ann?
Student achievement met, I'm going to get the date, it was November 16th. About a week after our last meeting, our last board meeting, we basically had a very in-depth follow-up on the information that we received in the NJLSA information that was presented at the last board meeting. Really looking closely at how the district administration and staff look at that data that's provided not only by the state reports, but then by our own in-house benchmark testing to identify areas within the various grade levels and various student groups that need, intervention and fine-tuning. In addition to some training programs that have been put in place for teachers that we've previously discussed at meetings, and supplemental intervention programs, and the multi-tiered
System of support.
system of support. I thought there was another T there, though. The multi-tiered system level of support for intervention. So it was the focus of the entire meeting. The district is exploring other ideas continually, to support students in these areas, and planning is ongoing. I'm sure we will circle back to it at a future meeting. In the agenda, you'll notice there was a draft schedule, the agenda that was shared, a draft schedule for the Student Achievement and Curriculum Committee meeting. We're trying to put certain topics on the committee schedule at regular intervals so that we do cycle back to them. And so if you didn't notice, or if you weren't able to click on that link in the agenda, let me know, because I think it's good for the board to know this is a topic that might be coming up, in these times for the meetings as well. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Any questions for Ann? No? Okay. Alex?
Buildings and Grounds met on Friday afternoon. Superintendent Alexis, Robin, Frank, Mark, Katie, and Adele joined us for the meeting. We first covered some of the internal discussions related to our committee goals for the upcoming year. Mark Persina presented on an update on current projects. There is a vendor who's got our infield renovations for the baseball, softball fields at Gillette and Millington in queue. They should be done before the winter freeze, I guess, occurs. Punch list items are being worked on with respect to the new fire alarms at Millington and Central. That should be closed out soon. Similarly, punch list items remain for the staff laboratory renovations at Central. And the furniture was delivered for the STEAM room in class 33 for Central School. Frank presented related to maintenance and operations. We discussed School Dude and the tracking and task management functions that he will be working on to kind of help streamline the maintenance operations. He indicated that there were 54 work orders and several additional emergency calls that his team worked on. We're receiving preventative maintenance proposals for the new potential vendor for district-wide HVAC. I believe beginning in the spring, but also for year-to-year contracts beginning in July. We talked briefly about the central sewer line backup that occurred on November 17th, and I believe another one that occurred the November 29th and 30th. Essentially, there was a very coordinated effort. We got some compliments, especially from the rec department related to how that was handled, and they were still able to use the gym and other facilities for the Saturday basketball. So fortunately, there was a fantastic job by this team, and there was no disruption that occurred. As to programming. Central tree work is scheduled to begin, I think, in mid-December to clear out some leaning trees on the right side of Central. Lead testing is scheduled for mid-December as well. Drinking water fountains have been installed in numerous areas, and we discussed the future plans for transforming some of the older style water fountains to new dispensers that provide drinking water for bottle filling stations. It was already mentioned by Karen, but there's an effort to dispose of obsolete items and clear out some of the former storage space in order to transform that into a workshop area. There's some expectation to soon receive a revised 5-year capital improvement plan after meetings with the architects. The 24-25 capital improvement projects are currently being discussed. They were held in great secrecy. I'm just teasing. But we can expect the Gillette School fire alarm renovations to occur in the upcoming year. So, I'm happy to report that the schools have gotten increasingly safer, healthier, more efficient, well-operated, more consistently comfortable with HVAC improvements. These are remarkable improvements we've made in the 3 years where I've served as chairperson of the committee, but all the credit is due to the team that works very hard and brings in their knowledge, their experience, so I credit them for all the work. I do want to make a point, though. One of the areas where we want to continue to make improvements is in the instructional spaces. And there's a lot of interest and dedication to transform those into learning environments that will facilitate the type of learning that our kids will need to experience to be competitive in this world. So much of the effort, I hope, will be and will continue to be renovating those spaces. Many of them have not seen significant improvements, and certainly in many decades. I leave it that. I leave that on the good hands of this committee, of this board, and look forward to all of the improvements to come. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Any last questions for Alex? No? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Tom?
I have no committee report at this time, but I would like to take a moment just to recognize that this is our last meeting in December. It is a very special month. A lot of people celebrate their secular and religious holidays, and I would just like to wish everybody safe, sound, healthy, and I guess, again, safe holiday season, and looking forward to seeing everyone back here again next year with smiling faces. You can come to visit.
Thank you. Melissa?
Just reporting on policy, we did meet this past month. You'll see 3 new policies on the agenda under number 31. Those 3 policies, I encourage parents to review. This is for, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up. So we already have a policy on parental involvement, but this actually this goes into a little bit more detail and adds additional policies regarding what level of communication we would have with Title I students, correct?
For family engagement, yes.
For family engagement. And that's really it. We have our next meeting on December 21st, 2023, which we may cancel once I just check to see if we need to review that one last policy. And then we already have our agenda review, our policy review list for our first meeting in January, which is January 18th, 2024.
Thank you. Any questions for Melissa? Okay. Katie?
Sorry, I had to answer my husband's question.
one quick Community Relations Committee. We have our meeting this Wednesday. Thank you to the team for rescheduling on my behalf. But because we're here, I just wanted to acknowledge Jack Hartnett because he's done a really great job this year helping us institute some changes in how we're going to maintain the website. And I noticed there was the new photograph portal update. I saw that on my email, and also just the process for the board to send you information. So thank you for doing that. You've had a lot on your plate, and to include that, thank you. And that's all for the Community Relations Committee. And then also for the Long Hill Ed Foundation, this Friday, force signups will begin at 8 a.m. Please do not reach out to Jessica Walsh or myself or anyone on the Long Hill Ed Foundation prior to 8 a.m. because no one will respond. We've been getting 2 a.m., 12:01 a.m. emails on that crossover time, and the shop is closed. We also have our monthly meeting the third Tuesday of the month, so it is the 19th this month, and it will be virtual via Google Classroom, Google Meet. So I echo Tom, have a safe holiday season and a happy and healthy new year.
Thank you. Any questions for Katie? Okay, Danielle, I want to go back to you. You said you had a thank you. You didn't do it.
Oh, I do. Well, I had a thank you earlier. I snuck it in. I
you
snuck
did?
it in
Okay,
with,
okay.
to the CMS, the band. And
Oh, she snuck it in. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a note, and then I probably wrote the note while you were saying it. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Oh, thank you. And I want to thank Mr. Vitarello for bringing his students here tonight. They did a fabulous job, and I really want to commend them for their leadership and their commitment to service. It's just great to hear the experiences firsthand from them. And I heard nothing but good things about the tree lighting yesterday, and the band really brightened a dreary December evening. So that was great to see too. I want to acknowledge Ms. Shippon and Mr. Deakins for their leadership with the band. I'm also pleased to report that we have a former Long Hill student, Anna Ortiz, who's in the WHRHS chapter of the National Art Honor Society, and will be visiting Millington School to teach our students about ceramics and sculpture as part of her service project. I want to thank Mrs. Cohen, our Millington art teacher, for working with Anna and supervising this project. Also very pleased, the kids mentioned that they're going to be going to the high school for the annual winter concert. It's always a great event, so we're happy about that. On the agenda, there's a resolution approving the ESSER ARP safe return plan pursuant to federal law. Every 6 months, we have to update this plan through September 2024. So this just might be the penultimate one. So we'll do it again in June, and probably that will satisfy the requirement. There were only minor revisions to the plan. We also have the 2024-25 calendar on the agenda for approval. The only substantive change is that we added a professional development day in October. So we'll have 2 in August, 2 in October, and 1 in February. We consulted with the association, and we have their support for that additional PD day. We're looking forward to that. So with the 4 emergency closing dates that we have built in, the first day of school would be the day after Labor Day, September 3rd. The staff would come in the week before for 2 days. And then the last day of school will be Friday, June 20th. Last, there were numerous holiday collection efforts on the agenda that are being undertaken by various members of our school community, mostly students and staff, which is really nice to see. And in the sort of reciprocal spirit of giving, I want to acknowledge ShopRite for offering us this little mini ShopRite card for our preschool, which is a really nice gesture.
Okay.
And that's it for me. Robin will give her report and talk a little bit about transportation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Alexis? No? Okay, to Robin.
For the financial side, Karen covered almost pretty much everything on my agenda. The only thing I wanted to expand upon a little bit is the amendment of the grants, and just let the board know that that is a work in progress, and it's a team effort, a collaborative effort. Adele and I met today with Lori and with Jerry, and looked at all the grants to see how we could move money around to continue providing, especially as our ESSER grant, right? So that's the third one. comes to an end. So we have some funds remaining. We are moving all the funds together to hopefully provide some extra services for students. So I thank Lori for bringing it to our attention, and we are going to amend that. So that's part of the reason that's there. Under Title II, Title IV, those also be amended because there's some carryover funds and because we want to use the funds for some different things. In the agenda, you'll also see, though, that Title III had some money. It's being handled by a consortium. Part of our money is left over from last year, not because we didn't use it well, because South Boundbrook got a brand-new BA who had to redo her SAM that got extended, and because of that, they couldn't get our money through. So they have to handle our money from last year that's remaining. Meanwhile, Lincoln Park is handling our money from this year. So kind of a hodgepodge of things. But Jerry's got it under control and tells me that she can definitely spend that money quickly so we can get our money reimbursed. So that's a good thing. On transportation, I wish I had better news to report. Let's go with the positive. It seems like a lot of the regular bus drivers now are part of our community. Parents are liking them. They know the students. It seems like the regular bus drivers are doing way better. The problem still ends up being with our sub-bus drivers who are pulled off other routes to come here, and with communication. So we've spoken many times to the head of Durham. We've gone up the chain and has spoken. They promise better service. It seems to me like I get better service when nothing's wrong, but when something's wrong, I get delayed service, which isn't good. I get notified that we have a sub-bus driver on the route that's now running 20 minutes late. Well, that doesn't really help me. So we're working with them. They did tell us that they're trying to find at least 2 sub-drivers who will come up and at least know Long Hill a little bit. When I checked with them last week, though, they still hadn't found those 2 drivers. So we're waiting. We do have, as I said, an anticipated meeting with County Superintendent, County VA, to see if they can help us. I'm going to call Karen's contact at the ESC, too, to see what they can do. It's a work in progress. We're doing our best. So I just thank the board for being understanding. I thank our community. We know that we have to do better. We just don't know how at this point. We feel like we're doing all we can. And I wish I had better news on that. I just don't have a better news for sub-drivers. There just is a shortage of drivers, and they just can't seem to send us anybody consistently. And it seems to be about 1 a week. So we are keeping a list of all the problems. We're keeping a list of when video footage is being asked for and when it's being sent, so that we at least have record of all this. But there just is not a good answer. So, any questions?
I have a question. Is it, like you said about like once a week, there's a substitute, is it the same bus route?
No.
It's all different bus routes?
It's different bus
okay.
routes. The communication that Mr. Lexus spoke about, we got a call that there was a downed tree that, and they didn't let us know that the bus couldn't go through. There was a problem until a parent called us and said, and like I said, we found out on an email. Natalia, who's in the office, who's handling transportation, was able to get in touch with the parent. At that point, we didn't have a good way to communicate to parents what's going on. I mean, I called the bus company. They're going to try to find a way around to do the rest of the route, and that's how they leave it. They don't tell me, are they able to? Who's left on the bus? What stop did you get to? And it's hard after hours if they call you to be looking on your phone or to be, everybody's moving about, to try to figure out, who are we talking about? We want our children to be safe. I mean, we feel like when they're on the bus, they are safe. That what they have them doing is when there's a delay on the route or something in the route, they're not allowed to use their phone for a GPS system. They're supposed to call into dispatch, who then tells them block by block, make a left here, make a right there, as they go around. And that's what we're dealing with at this point. I have called other companies to talk about a navigation system. Durham does not allow any kind of electronic device on their bus, and that's a problem. The other problem with the companies that I've spoken to is if we have it, well, if they call me at 6:30 in the morning and say there's a sub, how do I get this device, run it over to the high school to hand it to them, and then at the end of the day, pick it up from them at the end of the route so that we get it back, and then we always have to have the routes updated on. There's a logistical problem to it that they just we can't seem to figure out, and that they don't seem to want to figure out. And again, Dan Borgo has called up through the chain. We're up to Mr. Scarpa, who is here, that saying, something's got to be done. You have to have some way for these. You have to feel sorry for I do feel sorry for the sub drivers. They want to get our kids home, right? But you know how our blocks are here. If the down tree and he makes a right on one block, he probably is not going around the block here. He's probably going into a different town. Yeah. Right? And that's the issue. And they don't know how to turn around to get back to the next house on the route.
And the name of the bus company is Durham School Services, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Durham School Services online.
Okay, any other questions for Robin? Okay.
Could I just add one thing before Danielle had mentioned an announcement at the PTO? Melissa Backer and I went to the PTO meeting last week, and I just wanted to acknowledge the PTO for all the good work they do and the programs, and we're excited to have the author visit next week, and just all that they do, and just like the LHEF, putting together a group of really committed parents who are, want to do the best for the kids, and I just want to thank them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, any comments from the public on agenda items? The public is frozen.
Literally.
Resolutions, okay, so we're gonna move into resolutions,
Can
so.
I just make I apologize, that I didn't say this. The bills list was reviewed and you can approve it. Everything is fine.
Thank you, Karen. So we're gonna move to resolutions, so for minutes, number 1, Karen, will you move those?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yeah, yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
And Mrs. Case?
Yes. Danielle, will you move in financials numbers 2 through 17, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes, but abstain from 14.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Mrs. Nyquist?
Yes, but abstain from 14.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
And Mrs. Case?
Yes, but abstain from 14. Okay, Anne, will you move in special services numbers 18 through 24?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Who said second?
Me.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay. Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Alex, we move in personnel numbers 25 through 29.
So moved.
Second.
Good pick on that one. Questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes, but abstain from 26.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes,
Okay.
but abstain from 26.
And Mrs. Case?
Yes. Tom, will you move in curriculum number 30?
So moved.
Second.
Anne? Questions, please? Roll call.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Melissa, will you move in policy numbers 31 through 34?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
Ms. Case?
Yes. I echo what Mr. Alexis said before. It's just so many nice activities going on at the schools and really teaching our kids a culture of giving and volunteerism. So it's really nice to see. Katie, will you move in others number 35 through 44?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. DeJamos?
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Dr. Marr?
Yes.
Mrs. McLennan?
Yes.
Ms. Nyquist?
Yes.
Ms. Rubelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Case?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Items for discussion. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, Anne, will you move us into executive session?
The board will enter into private executive session to discuss a harassment, intimidation, and bullying report and confidential personnel matters. No action is anticipated after the session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you.